Poor mechanic fixes emergency jet land. Later, the billionaire owner returns and proposes marriage. His sun was setting over the dusty tarmac of a small desert airfield outside Nevada. Ethan Cole, a struggling mechanic in oil-stained overalls, had just finished patching up an old crop duster when he heard the unmistakable roar of a jet engine, then a terrifying boom. A sleek private jet came screaming overhead, trailing smoke, landing gear half deployed, and swerving dangerously, with no control tower and only a single cracked runway. The plane skidded and came to a grinding halt 100 yards from Ethan's hangar. Without hesitation, Ethan sprinted toward the smoldering jet. Inside was chaos. A frightened pilot stumbled out first, yelling about a total hydraulic failure. If it wasn't for that patch of sand slowing us, we'd be dead. He gasped. Behind him emerged a woman in a white business suit, elegant despite the smoke stains and disheveled hair. Her heels clicked as she stepped onto the tarmac, visibly shaken but composed. "You the mechanic?" she asked, voice calm but firm. "Yes, ma'am. Ethan Cole. Let's get you safe first, then I'll see what I can do." Ethan worked overnight under a bare bulb and with tools that should have been replaced years ago. The pilot kept doubting him until Ethan calmly explained the electrical bypass he was installing from memory, even drawing diagrams in the dirt. "You're wasting your talent here," the woman said quietly, watching him from behind her sunglasses the next morning. Ethan shrugged. "It's not about where you are, it's about who you help." By the time her security team arrived, the jet was fully operational, and the woman had learned Ethan lived in a trailer behind the hangar, barely making rent, helping local ranchers with their broken trucks to get by. She offered him money. He refused. "I didn't do it for a reward. I'd do it again for anyone." She paused, clearly affected, then reached into her bag and handed him a plain business card. It simply read, "Ava Sterling, Sterling Aerospace CEO. If you ever want more than this," she said, nodding at the dusty airfield, "call me." 3 months passed. Ethan didn't call. He thought about it, but always decided against it. One night, after a long day fixing a tour bus with a leaking radiator, he came home to find a black SUV parked outside his trailer. Ava Sterling stepped out. "You never called," she said, arms crossed. "I didn't want anything from you." "I didn't come to offer anything," she replied. "I came to ask something." Before he could speak, she stepped closer. "In my world, people care about status, money, image, but the day you fixed that jet, you saved more than a plane. You showed me what honor looks like. I've built empires, but I've never met someone like you." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Ethan's jaw dropped. "Wait, what are you?" "I'm serious. I don't want a security advisor or an engineer. I want you. Will you marry me?" Ethan stared at her, eyes wide. Then he laughed, shook his head in disbelief, and said, "This might be the first time in history a billionaire proposed to a guy who sleeps with a wrench under his pillow." She smiled. "I like firsts." He took her hand, then slowly nodded. "Let's do something crazy," he said. "Let's fly." A year later, Ethan stood in a tuxedo beside Ava on the deck of a luxury air yacht, one he'd helped design with her engineers. Sterling Aerospace had launched a new initiative in his name, the Ethan Cole Program, for underprivileged youth with mechanical talent. But more than titles or honors, what mattered most was the woman beside him who saw in a poor mechanic what no one else ever had: a heart of gold, hands of genius, and the courage to stand alone. And now, he'd never have to stand alone again. After the surprise proposal, Ethan's life changed overnight. The small-town mechanic, used to working with rusted bolts and borrowed tools, found himself at Sterling Tower in Manhattan, a gleaming skyscraper of glass and steel, where billion-dollar deals happened over breakfast and drones delivered coffee. Av tried to ease him in. "You don't have to change," she said one morning, watching him try to knot a tie for the 5th time. "I didn't fall for a Wall Street guy. Fell for the man who rebuilt the jet with duct tape and determination." Still, it wasn't easy. At a company gala, investors whispered behind Ava's back, "Is that the mechanic?" She could have had a prince, but Ava never flinched. She took Ethan's hand and proudly introduced him as her fiancé. When one arrogant board member made a snide remark about Ethan's past, Ava fired him on the spot. Just as Ethan started to find his place in Ava's world, a crisis hit Sterling Aerospace. A rival company accused Ava of patent theft, and rumors began to swirl that her engagement was a PR stunt, a distraction from legal scandals. Tabloids ran cruel headlines. "Grease monkey gold digs, billionaire CEO." Ava was summoned to a government hearing. Her board panicked. "Cut ties with him," her lawyer urged. "It'll clean your image." Ethan heard it all. That night, he packed his bag without a word and slipped out, leaving a short note. "I won't let them take you down for choosing me. Goodbye, Ava." But Ava wasn't having it. She tracked him down to a garage in Utah, where he'd taken a temporary job fixing snowmobiles. She stormed in. "Grease stains be damned. You don't get to leave," she said, tears in her eyes. "We don't run from storms, we fly through them." He looked at her, stunned. "Even if I make your life harder, you are my life, Ethan." Ethan returned with her to New York, not to hide but to fight. He gave a public interview, telling the world the truth of that day on the airstrip. His humility, passion, and refusal to take a dime from Ava won over millions. The case was dismissed. Public sentiment flipped. Ava's reputation soared, even higher, and so did Ethan's. He became a symbol of integrity, featured in tech magazines, not as a billionaire, but as the heart of a company that valued more than wealth. They married in the same hangar where they first met. Ava wore a simple, elegant white dress. Ethan wore his old boots under his tux. Guests flew in from around the world, but locals from Ethan's hometown sat front row. Ava's vows were short, heartfelt. I came crashing into your life literally, and you never ran. You fixed me, Ethan Cole. Not with tools, but with love. Ethan's voice cracked as he replied, I never knew I was lost, until you gave me a reason to be found. They kissed, and cheers erupted not just from the crowd, but from the heavens. As a new Sterling jet soared overhead, its tail marked with their names. Years later, the hangar became a foundation hub offering scholarships to young mechanics, engineers, and inventors. A bronze plaque near the entrance read, From Dust to Destiny, in honor of the man who saved a jet and won a billionaire's heart. And on weekends, if you looked up, you'd see a sleek silver jet gliding through the sky. Inside it, Ava and Ethan partners in love, life, and legacy. Because sometimes, fate doesn't land it right into your heart. Their wedding was a fairy tale. But Ava had one more surprise for Ethan. She flew him to a private island in the South Pacific. Not the fancy kind with champagne, fountains, and 12 butlers, but a quiet, rugged island with clear waters and a tiny hangar on the edge of a grassy field. I bought it years ago, she told him, barefoot in the sand. Thought I'd use it for retreats. Now I want it to be our home base. Ethan blinked. Wait, our base. She grinned. You'll be designing the first ever self-repairing aircraft prototype here. Your blueprints, your rules. Sterling, aerospace will fund it, but you lead it. He stared at her. You're giving me a lab? On an island. I'm giving you everything, she whispered, because you gave me you. They spent their honeymoon not in spas, but in the hangar covered in grease, drawing on whiteboards, sketching parts in the sand. And at night, they lay under the stars, talking about the future. 2 years later, Ethan's prototype, dubbed the Phoenix, made global headlines. A plane that could self-diagnose engine failure mid-flight and reroute hydraulics automatically. Journalists kept asking, where did Desert Mechanic learn that? Ethan always smiled. I never learned it, I lived it. Ava, now pregnant with their first child, refused to slow down. She traveled less, delegated more, and made sure every boardroom now had space for young minds with grit, especially the kind that didn't come from Ivy League schools. They didn't just build planes, they built people. Years later, during a charity gala in Vegas, the pilot from the emergency jet landing, the one who first stumbled out in shock, stood up during a Q&A session. I owe you my life, he said, voice cracking. Back then, I thought you were just some dirt-poor grease monkey. I didn't know you'd become the man reshaping aerospace history. Ethan chuckled. Neither did I, Ava added. That's the thing about grit, it doesn't always wear a suit. Decades passed. Ava and Ethan's daughter, Nova Cole Sterling, became the first civilian pilot to land on a Martian runway using the Phoenix 2, a ship designed by her father's original tech. Before takeoff, she wore her dad's old wrench around her neck. It's not just a tool, she told the press. It's proof that love, humility, and genius can come from anywhere. Around a rusty hangar in the Nevada desert. Back on Earth, an older Ethan and Ava watched the launch hand in hand. From their island runway, he squeezed her fingers gently. Can you believe all this started with a broken jet and a busted landing gear? Ava smiled. No, it started when you refused to take my money and gave me your heart instead. They kissed as the rocket broke, the sound barrier above them carrying their love, their legacy, and their story far beyond the clouds.